Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder. It's your favorite program in North America, Socialing the Distance. And we're with Jody Furlong and Bayo Furlong, the BackStraight boys. Now, their partner, Claire, is not here, but I got to tell you, our audience, I met these guys, I think in about 2006 or 7.
Wow.
And
I think 9. Was it
9? Was it 9? Was it? Okay,
Berlin,
yes.
maybe, I think.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it was. Because you were already stirring it up back then, and one of the things that I love about both of you is your absolute enthusiasm for athletics, but also your ability to be close enough to make jokes about things to get us to think about things in a different way. So I'm going to start early because with some gentle questions, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. And so, Bayo, you've got the hat on, so people, my readers know, right? Okay.
I've got the hat on because my hair is bright red at the moment.
Oh, lovely. My son used to dye his hair red, white, and blue and stuff, and just, it was kind of cool. And Jody, you have the striped shirt, and like a mohawk, cool. So, you guys, when did you guys start the BackStraight Boys podcast? When did that come about?
Wow. So the podcast, I was probably 4 years old, but before that...
Oh my God.
You didn't start the podcast when you were 4 years old, Jody. What are you talking about?
No, it started about 4 years ago. Sorry, I said it is about 4 years old. The podcast... 4
years old. Okay. Got you guys.
But before that, we used to do lots of interviews for YouTube, interviewing loads of athletes at all kinds of meets. We probably met you in Berlin doing interviewing athletes. And we used to do interviews for athletes for the IAAF back in the day as well, before we realized it was more fun doing it for ourselves than having a boss. So
now, is there tell me if this is uncomfortable, but there was a time when I think you annoyed our little friends at the IAAF, which is one of the things that endeared you to me. And, because, if you can't stir it up once in a while, you're really not doing your job. I mean, I got in trouble with USA Track and Field for doing some social media that was in violation of all their sponsor rules, and they came up and just went like this at me one time, So was it in 2009 that you kind of irked the IAAF a little bit?
No, so in 2009, Jody had done a TV show in Britain. We're by profession, we're casting directors. And Jody had done a TV show in Britain about model scouting. Ernie Obeng, who is head of publicity or communication or something at the IAAF, he had seen that and thought, oh, I know those guys from athletics meetings. So he called us in to ask us to do interviews with the athletes and that, which was great. We would go to the meetings. We'd have our VIP passes. We'd be allowed to go back to where the food and drink was, all the important stuff. And we would literally be given the biggest athletes in the world would be put in front of us and we had to interview them. Fantastic. Wow. And that went on for 2, 3, 4 years up until 2013 when we were at the World Championships in Moscow.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, it wasn't the best championships to be media at because it was down in a car park and you didn't even get to see what was happening on the track. But I think what happened with us with those was we love athletics. We love watching athletics. We love chatting about athletics. We love chatting to the athletes. But we also like to have fun at the athletics meeting. And when you're working for the organisers, there are certain levels of behaviour, quite rightly, that are expected. And there's certain athletes we have to interview and certain style of interviewing, and it's just not us. Being stuck in the essentially what was an underground car park for the whole of the championships, and having to do a certain amount of interviews just is not the kind of stuff that was ever going to be right for us. So we kind of. I think it was a mutually agreement that we wouldn't do stuff for them anymore, which is fine because we still go to all the meetings, but we do it for ourselves. No bosses, not any expectation of what has to or hasn't got to be done. We do it for fun, mainly just for fun, and because we love it and we love the athletes. And I think the athletes really love chatting to us as well because they've known us for years. They know we're enthusiastic. They know we're going to ask intelligent questions, and not a lot of correspondents who do go to athletics meetings are not specialists in athletics. So, or they've got a specific agenda that they want to push. They want to ask about a specific question because that's their editorial line. We don't have any of that. So we can just ask the fun stuff.
It's really interesting because when we're in the press pool or something and people are coming past, you can see athletes we've known for years and some really big names will come straight to us. and you can see all these big people from these like big media organizations with their big cameras and their like flashy equipment, and they can look at us and say, why are they going to them, you know? And they come to us because we're not going to try and ask them like a gotcha question. We're not going to try and ask them about drugs or scandal. We're going to ask them usually things that us, the fans, because everything we do is about the fans. You know, we're here asking the questions that fans want to hear. And as Jody says, it's not like an editorial line. We haven't been told by our editor what information to get. So we actually tend to ask questions that they're interested in, things about that, the real minutiae of the sport, you know, things that most people wouldn't recognize. And because we've known a lot of these people for many, many years, sometimes since they were juniors, you know, maybe they're like 10, 15 years down the line, they're always really happy to come and meet us, which does put some other people's backs out, I've noticed over the years.
No, I do. That's part of the thing that I enjoy. You know, it keeps it fun. I at Doha at the Worlds, my son Adam was videotaping the medal conferences because I love to go in and ask questions, right? And I stay away from the drug stuff because everybody's asking about Alberto. And I raise my hand and talk to Sam Kendricks, and then all of a sudden, the Pietra Elisic goes, "Okay, Larry, I'm only talking to you." And Mondo goes, "Okay, Larry, I'm only talking." And we're just doing key questions. And we love that stuff, you know, because at the end of the day, we're storytellers. And that's where I wanted to kind of play with you. The pandemic has been weird. It's been very frustrating because we've been, you know, you do podcasts, I do podcasts, but the reason why we put up with it all is so we can go to track meets. Have you been able to get to a track? Have you been able to go to a track meet at all? Have you guys been to any meets since the pandemic started?
No. I mean, there's very few in the UK anyway. We normally have 2 big meets in the year. Was there something last summer that I'm forgetting about?
But they were all crowdless, weren't they? So anything that has been on, that was no crowd. So I think America, certainly in the last few months, you've had a few things on, haven't you? We haven't really started that yet. We've had actual crowds. There's a couple coming. There's one at the end of May in Gateshead, like a proper big meeting.
Are you both going to be at that one?
Potentially, we kind of haven't decided yet because Gateshead, it's not far away from an American perspective. But in Britain, it's like the other side of the country from where we are. So Americans are used to traveling a lot further than we are, I think.
And it also depends on what press. I don't know if they're allowing what press they're allowing, and if they do allow press, we won't be the priority. So
well, no, but I have been sent an email asking if we wanted to, if we requested press accreditation. We just haven't decided yet.
Because Jason Henderson's in charge of the media for the meet, which is it's just because you know they got rid of all the British media kids, right? You know, there was a nice young group of people that were helpful, and they dumped him this year when, you know, Joe Coates started doing her purges, you know, and it's just been kind of and we have it in the U.S. too, you know. So it's just like my theory now is with federations, they're nut jobs, you know, and it's just. So I'm going to make both of you in charge of World Athletics for one day.
Oh,
can I just quickly say one thing, because we kind of didn't get there. I just wanted to explain how the podcast actually came about in the first place.
Please,
because we were doing all this stuff and interviews for ourselves. We had a co presenter, Matt, who did it with us. Matt couldn't do it any longer because he runs these big running events. And he hooked us up with Claire, who we now do it with. Claire is a TV producer and was really interested in doing some kind of athletics-based podcast. And it just came along at the perfect time. She's technical and keeps us in control. We have all the contacts, you know. And it's just been so good since Claire came along because she has kind of made the whole thing slicker and more professional. And it's a really, really good team, you know. We're all interested in different parts. And so we kind of interview people. We have different styles, we have different interests. But with our contacts and going back years, we know everybody. We know all the people to meet and all the places to go, etc. And Claire has a far more sort of technical producing background, so it's a really, really good combination. It's why it's now the BackStraight boys and girl, because it used to just be the BackStraight boys, but the girl is very important.
How do you describe? Okay, to my viewers in North America, how would you describe your podcast?
Well, I would say it's a podcast by fans for fans.
Yeah,
that's kind of our point. You know, it's like none of us are actually professionally involved in athletics. We've been around it a very long time. We know everybody, but we don't actually work in the sport. We love watching it. We love talking to the athletes. You know, we're obsessed with the sport, but we're obsessed with. We don't really care about the background. It's not about like your training regimes. It's like what goes on that TV. You know, that we're interested in. And I think athletics are very strange. I think the athletics fans, it's kind of a strange fan base. They're very loyal, and they're very kind of. We can be kind of quite statty, can't we? Quite sort of technical about that kind of thing, but you don't really have that really obsessive fan bases like you have in sort of football or basketball. It's not tribal in that way, but a lot of us, we do think of the sport in that way. You know, a lot of people that we know, we are extremely passionate and excited about it, and I think that's what we try and do. We try and bring out that kind of the passion, the excitement, and I wish the sport would promote that a bit more than it does.
But also, like, I think we have a sense of humor with it. Like, we laugh a lot. We have big name interviews. I mean, this year we've had Carsten Bornholm. We've had some British middle distance big names from them. Yeah. In the last year, we've had Paula Radcliffe's been on this year. Dina Asher-Smith's been on. Denise Lewis, Adam Jamili, Christian Taylor. So it's just we reach out to people and say, "Would you like to be on?" And they're like, "Yeah, of course." So it's a mixture of stuff. Our opinions, our gossip, chat about what's happened, chat about what's going to happen, big name interviews.
And just having a laugh. You know, there's no point being a fan of anything unless you find it enjoyable. And
I agree.
So many athletics-based, not just podcasts, but I think that the sport in general can be very sort of po-faced at times, very, very dry. And that's just not, which was why, you know, when we worked for the IAAF, I think it was a bit of a problem because we're very much about having a laugh, you know, which isn't always the way the powers that be like it.
Do you think if you gave the BBC a grade from A being excellent to F being absolute bullocks, what would you give the BBC on their coverage of track and field right now?
So it's improving. Could do better if tried, but they have got so much better. And I also think we are very spoiled in the UK because the BBC do excellent coverage, with really, really proficient, professional, experts, commentators. Mm-hmm. I have a big issue with some of the editorial decisions and the fact that they'd love to chat rather than show the action. But in the big scheme of things, and when we watch American coverage, we're very, very grateful to have the BBC.
Yes. Oh, well, I pull all the BBC down from YouTube. I watch BBC and Polish TV because they're to me both the best, you know. And I just turn the sound down on the Polish TV. But so who has been your most provocative interview?
Oh, I haven't really had any. That's not really I think a lot of athletes are quite cautious.
Sure.
There's not a lot of real sort of people who are out because it's not. Is it worth their while? You know, is it worth their while to like come on and say controversial things and get into trouble? I can't really think, and it's not really the questions we ask either, I suppose, is it? I've had a couple of people who have said once we retire, we're coming on and spilling all the beans. You know,
We've had a couple of people who once the Zoom stopped recording, then we have the proper gossip.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. That's what I always try to tell our peeps is that, look, if there's things you don't want to talk about, then I totally respect that. Maybe let me fine tune that question. Who was the most surprising interview that you've done? Not about being provocative. Maybe they warmed up during the show and you're kind of going, wow, they're really answering questions that not in the exact way that we expected. So
I interviewed Christina Horogu, who is obviously a huge star of British athletics and huge star in the world. But because she had that controversy at the very beginning of her career with the Miss Drugs test, she was always quite reticent with the press, you know, and she never really came alive. She didn't really warm herself to the British public, I think, like other athletes could with her success, you know, Olympic gold medals, World Championship gold medals. And she came on after she retired, and I thought I'd maybe chat to her for maybe half an hour, and I chatted to her for about 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And we did everything from beginning to end. She talked about everything, all the stuff she hadn't wanted to go to before. And she said it's because she knew that we would understand, you know, and we would have the correct facts in front of us, but she knew we weren't out to get her. And so she talked about, we did a 2-hour podcast, and it was split into 2, of her basically telling everything from her side, which she had never done before. Because when she tried, it all went horribly wrong at the beginning because she wasn't media trained, she didn't really know what she was doing. And then I think she just kept away from that sort of subject matter going forward. And that was great. That was my favourite moment ever doing this podcast. Because as fans, I got all the answers to all those questions that I've wanted to know all these years. And I got them directly from her. You know, I literally could sit and ask all the questions I wanted to ask. Not just about that, but like other things that we're really aware of in Britain about how she was really bad at relays and all this kind of stuff. That's the kind of minutiae that we're into.
We had Christian Taylor on last year, and he said it was the best interview he'd ever done. Most fun, best interview he'd ever been on. So we're like, that's the kind of...
That's what you need. Yeah, I interviewed Christian while he was driving across Austria, and I was very happy that my router was that good. He was just, he put the little thing up, and he was driving, and we were talking. It was like, a karaoke show, you know?
But what a dream to interview as well. Like,
my gosh. No, he's absolutely lovely, you know, and just like, so I had a rule when I started doing journalism 35 years ago that I've taped every interview I've had for 35 years, okay? So I have 9 hours with Emil Zatopek, okay? and there's parts of it I've never put up because it was about drug use and about being in jail with the Russians and stuff. So we're starting to digitize it all now. But what historical track athlete, and I want to answer from both of you, would you wish you could have interviewed? Is there a historical track athlete? I'm going to try to throw some questions at you that I get. I'm loving these looks because I want to try to get you to think a little bit, and we're having some fun with this. So thank you.
Well, I think when there's lots, but if I'm going to ask them anything we want and we're going to get straight answered, it would be Florence Griffiths Joyner.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Who went from being like 87 World Championships when she wore that all-in-one bodysuit with a hood in the semi-finals, being the athlete of all time, to being one of my least favourite of all time. We all know, I mean, we won't go into it, we all know what the thoughts are about her and why. But I would still like to know what went on with her and how she ran. So never mind the wind, because obviously we know there was wind in that 100-metre world record, but how did she run so fast? And what was it that she knew that other people didn't know? Because I don't know that she was so naturally gifted above everybody else, because we know lots of other people were doing exactly the same thing. I'm trying to speak diplomatically.
I thought you did quite well. Bayo, what do you think?
My immediate thought was like, kind of in a similar vein, if we could get the answers from people, mine would be the Press sisters.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Is one of them still alive?
One of them just passed away. One of them is still alive. Yeah. Because I pull down Russian. I get these crazy Russian interviews, and my son finds them for me because he speaks a little bit of Russian.
Oh my God! Sorry, one of them literally died 5 days ago.
Yeah. No, I just.
But the other one died years ago. So I think.
So we lost them both now. Yeah, I remember Vladimir Kuts. So he was Zatopek's friend, and in '56 he told Emil, "Hey, they're making me take some stuff that makes me throw up every day." And Emil told us this was in 1991 because he had come to Stanford to get his back looked at because he couldn't run anymore. And we made him a track coach for a day, and he coached my steeplechasers.
Oh, wow.
And I'm taking Emil Zatopek to a small track meet in Watsonville, California. And guys are coming up who knew who he was, you know, my age and stuff, getting their grandsons to meet him and stuff. And he was so genuinely touched by how people treated him. You know, those are the kind of people that I just kind of go, we have these lovely people in this sport. You know, I mean, I can only think of one athlete in my entire time who I think has been a bit of an ass. But then after I got to talk to him a little bit, and we did, like you said, you talk to them about track and field, you get them involved, and they kind of go from there. Where do you, on the similar vein of A to F, where is British athletics right now?
C-?
No, it's much better than that.
Maybe it's
the thing is, at the moment, we don't have any, like we've got Dina, we've got Kat, both world champions. We don't have tons of people, like right now we don't have a Jess, we don't have a Mo, well Mo's still running. We don't have those superstars. Dina is in this country, is very famous. But we do have a very high, like we've got a lot of really good people. They may not be winning stuff on the world stage right now, but we've got a lot of quality across a lot of events that we haven't had.
Probably more than ever. So probably more than maybe since like the early 90s. That's it, I think, isn't it? We've got quite a lot of, it goes across, we've got hammer throwers. You know, we've never had hammer throwers, like certainly not in the last like 50 years. We've got people in the bench.
Our middle distance is really strong. And there's I mean the throws are javelin. We'd actually our last podcast was with Steve Backley and Goldie Sayers discussing the state of UK javelin, because it is the worst event we have at the moment. But there seems to be somebody there or thereabouts in most events, or someone we're excited about, a youngster coming through. So I'd give us a B right now, I think. Yeah, maybe. I think my reservations were, and this may simply be because we haven't seen anything for about 18 months. So maybe I was kind of like not really. It's hard, isn't it? Because you forget last year's kind of a washout, and then you have to remember people from the year before and what happened then. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is higher than I thought. But I think the Olympics is going to be very telling, isn't it? We just don't know yet, because we haven't seen people for such a long time. People are beginning to start racing now, but it's not long. We've got like less than 3 months away, isn't it? So in the next few weeks, we're really going to start to know what the level people are at, because we haven't really been able to tell for the recent. And we can't take people's 2019 form.
That's
like, who knows? It was 2 years ago. So who knows?
What do you think the Olympics will happen?
They have to happen. I'm not even contemplating the fact they don't happen.
Okay,
it's the most important thing in the world that happens every 4 years, and it's happening.
Okay. Bayo, any thoughts on that one?
We're not allowing it not to happen. Okay, we're not.
Okay, good.
We're not accepting that. So unacceptable.
If you two were in charge of the British Communications Department at British Athletics for a day, I want one thing you would do to add to make the sport more visible in the UK.
We say this isn't just for British, this is for sort of worldwide. I think we have the widest range of most marketable sports people across any sport in the entire world. You know, we always say you have 4'8" Ethiopian distance runners and 6'10" Polish hammer throwers, you know, or discus throwers, whatever. Within this, you have something to appeal to everybody. And it always feels like the powers that be will concentrate usually on a male sprinter, which we lucked out with Usain Bolt, you know. But then when you say all the time the focus across the world was on the sport because of Usain Bolt, what did the IAAF do? They focused on Usain Bolt. Instead of using that publicity to start introducing other stars to the world, they didn't. They just concentrated on Usain Bolt, which meant when Usain Bolt retired, what were we left with? A sport without any stars. So be that on a local level in the UK or be it IAAF, I say you've got to choose people within the sport. They don't have to be the best. They have to be the most sellable. They have to be the most charismatic. You know, and Jody was saying earlier, you can make it niche. Make someone a big star in Scandinavia. They don't have to translate around the world, you know. And the IAAF, the IAAF or British Athletics could do a much better job of just getting people who are good at social media. You know, even little things like just sending people around schools. Everyone in the British team should have to go to their local school, 5 schools in their area. That should be in your contract for the year. If you're going to get lottery funding, you have to, over the course of that year, go to 5 schools in your area.
I like that.
There has to be follow-up as well. You can't just go and then never speak to them again. There has to be follow-up. You have to let them know when events are on, that you can come to events, that we're doing something in your local area. But also, with social media, this whole idea, you don't have to be a global star. It can be micro. Like find, like, Alison Felix or Shelley Ann, who've just had babies. Then why aren't they in mum parenting magazines? Why aren't they, like, you've got to think of these micro things that when you put them all together, they create the macro, right? Why isn't, I don't know, I'm trying to think of people who do that, but Valerie Adams, for example, like she's 6'4", the strongest woman in the world. Market her as the strongest woman in the world. There's loads of women who are interested in strength and stuff.
Yeah.
So why don't you do stuff with her? Like the American collegiate and road running circles, they do a very good job.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it comes from, I don't know where it comes from, but of the running community of American female and male runners, but specifically female, are very focused. They have a really strong following of other people who are interested, and that doesn't translate outside of America. Some of those people, especially the female American runners, are not famous outside of America, but they're superstars in America. Because on that local level, they may not even qualify for teams, and only a couple of them have actually got medals at the major championships, but they're superstars. So we need to learn how to do that in other areas. And there's strength, there's distance, there's so many different things that you could specify. And I don't feel like there's anybody doing any of it.
We always say that athletes should be like the Avengers. You know, it should be like this super team that come together and they've all got a different skill, but bring them all together, a superpower. They've all got a superpower. You know, so be you a 6'10" discus thrower, or you're a 5'10", a 4'10" marathon runner. The point is, you've all got your individual skill, and you can all be someone that someone in the world can look up to. You know, so if you are, you know, wherever you are, wherever you may be, whatever you're into, there is something in athletics for you, and that's what I really think they need to hammer home. That it's a sport that encompasses everybody,
and it's
geographically, but not just that. It's across both genders. You know, it's like there are very few sports that are this global. In fact, there isn't another sport, is there, that's this global? Because anyone can run. It doesn't take. It's not about yachting, you know, or cycling or canoeing, or pardon me, all the stuff that we're good at in England. We're good at sitting down sports. It's true. It's really true. Horse riding.
All our Olympic medals come from sports that are costing absolute fortunes: cycling, yachting, rowing, horse riding.
Yeah. Whereas there is no other sport where you can just run. You know, you don't need any equipment. You don't even necessarily need the shoes to begin with. You can just run. And it's also, it's the parity between the sport is also really important, you know. So it can be targeted to boys as well as it can girls. I just think they do a bad job of communicating what the sport is also, and I think this is really important, and they just don't seem to get this at all. Athletics is full of really cool, really good-looking people.
True. Yeah.
You know, that's just basic, isn't it? So like, you've got all these really genuinely cool people. There's a lot of not cool as well, you know, but that doesn't matter. Really cool, really good-looking people from around the world. I mean, it's just such a no-brainer, but no one seems to kind of grasp onto this at all.
I did an interview.
I would say I would not have internal people doing the PR. You need to get somebody outside who understands the modern world and understands how to sell a product. And the product is not World Athletics. The product is the individual people that make up World Athletics.
Yeah, I think they forget that. I interviewed Pascal Rolling at Puma a couple of weeks ago, and you know, they've got Renaud Lavillenie, they've got Mondo Duplantis, they've got Sandy Morris, and they have Casey Lightfoot. Sandy and Des Linden are my two most popular women over here, and then with the guys, Mondo's big, Karsten Warholm, and then there's Trayvon Bromell and some of the folks.
Trayvon was on the pod the other week as well. I forgot that.
Okay, so I'm going to make both of you in charge. Well, I'm going to actually make it as a triumvirate. You're now in charge of the National Broadcast Network, NBC, in the U.S., who has the Olympic rights, and you've made some allusion to. Sometimes the American broadcasts are absolute crap. There's some that are good. Kara Gaucho last week was on with Sonia Richards-Ross, Paul Swangard, and Otto, and Kara did her homework, and we did a review of it. And I mean, she was really good. You know, what issues do you have with the American viewing of track and field?
Right, number one, adverts. And I know it's not your fault, and I know, like, we have the BBC, we don't have adverts, but every 2 minutes in the middle of races, like, it's just it's inconceivable. And the jingoism in any American coverage of sport is out of control. It's almost distasteful to listen to.
Totally distasteful, yeah.
And also,
my big one is go on.
you go, because I was probably going to say the same thing.
I was going to say it's the way you couch everything as an inspirational story.
Yeah.
And so you can't just tell the story as it is. Everything's got to do, instead of showing the sport, you'll do a 5-minute package before about like the inspirational journey towards the thing. And then you'll do this over and over and over again. It just, it's very American. For British audiences, we're far less sort of touchy-feely. We're far less like into your feelings. We don't really care about, your...
That is the sport.
Yeah, we just get on with the sport. So for us, watching anything like that, it just makes us kind of cringe. Just get on with it, basically. Just get on with it. But also, it's what you were just saying then. So many times, we don't watch that much American because we say we have really good people here doing it for us. But so many times they just don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And there's an awful lot of getting someone because of a name. And them having done no homework whatsoever. Or I think also you have a lot of people who've been there for a very, very, very long time and haven't really moved with the times. But for us, Jody's right. I mean, the adverts, absolutely. But overall, it's just show the sport. That's the overarching thing of all of it, across in Britain as well. Just show the sport. That's what people are tuning in for.
Yeah, I'm getting involved in helping produce a couple big athletic events over here. One is the NCAA cross country, and the way that we're packaging it is that there's an advert before 30 minutes before the women's part of the broadcast for cross country. So there's an ad every 30 minutes, and people are absolutely in love with that. So that's what we're trying to do. So we're going to do some things a little different, but it's just a challenge. What do you see? What did we learn from the pandemic? What benefited athletics in the pandemic? Was there anything that benefited the sport during the pandemic?
We were told, we interviewed Adam Jamili last year, and he said something on the lines of, it gave everyone a chance to everyone's got niggles. Everyone's got ongoing issues that they've never had, because it's constant athletics, isn't it? There's always something going on. People don't have the chance to actually stop and sort things out properly. So I think going forward this year, we could see a lot of people who've actually managed to sort out injuries, sort out niggles, sort out things that they've probably had or had surgery. Maybe had surgery that they've been needed for years but haven't got around to because they didn't have the chance it. Technical issues, stuff. Yeah. I think there could be a lot of people coming back firing on all cylinders, who've maybe been given a chance to get over issues that have been going on forward. As far as the sport itself and the structure or the running of it, I can't really think of any.
I did some of the innovations. I mean, the garden pole vault was amazing. Yeah. And for the athletes to come up with that as well, and obviously...
Of course the athletes came up with it, Jody. The IAAF weren't going to, were they? Hang on, isn't it funny? We keep calling them the IAAF and they're not called that anymore, are they?
I know, I do it all the time. I did it with John Ridgen a couple of weeks ago, man, and it just was like... the one that I would bring into you is there's a gentleman over here, Jesse Williams. He used to be at Brooks Shoes, and he's been doing these bespoke meets called Sound Running. And they're literally 4 to 6 events. My only beef is I want to see more of the broadcast. I want to see more photos. It's like they're holding it in a little hermitage and only the athletes are there, And I think that those kind of events can be something that we embrace, but how do we embrace it, And that's, I think, going to be the challenge coming out of the pandemic right now.
What has been good, I think, is a lot of the athletes have embraced social media during the pandemic in a way they probably had before, but it became far more apparent during lockdown when people were doing all those great edited together videos where they're throwing shoes to each other, and people have just seemed to got a handle on it, in a way they maybe didn't have time to before, or I think it's taken over all of our lives, isn't it? We haven't quite got a handle on social media, it must be said. There comes a point where you just don't really care enough.
I think the one thing that we should comment about athletics, because it's not a sport that it has a massive centralized control like a football, like a basketball or whatever. It's so many disparate things: road running, cross country, indoors, outdoors. There's so many different things.
But it's also an individual sport. It's an individual sport, not a team sport, isn't it? So that's much harder to control.
It is tough. So it's very easy for us to sit here and say what we do. We wouldn't do any of those things if we had the chance, because a lot of them are probably impossible.
Yeah, there's probably really good reasons why they haven't, isn't there?
What do you think about the changes in the new coaches within British athletics? Any thoughts on that? Do you get involved in that minutia?
Well, we're trying to get Christian and Darren on the podcast.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So obviously we've not been able to see any results from them yet, but the idea of getting ex-athletes with really good coaching credentials as well on board is really welcome. I mean, we've had some strange choices for head coach over the past few years: physiotherapists, psychologists, people who don't actually know. And I suppose head coach is not necessarily a coaching role as much as an administrative one. But Christian Malcolm is very, very welcome. Darren Campbell and Tim Benjamin to be the relay coach is very welcome. We'll wait and see. We've not had a chance to see what results we're going to get yet, but yeah.
What was very interesting is when head coach was announced, when we knew we needed a new head coach, Christian Malcolm's name was floating around, and you should have seen the support from British athletes for that idea. And
really?
Not a single, when he got the job, not a single person anywhere have I heard have a bad word to say about that. Everyone seemed genuinely really, really happy that he was going to be doing that.
That's awesome. So that's really important, I think.
Really important, yeah. So going forward, it's a great start. He's got such goodwill, and he's just a genuinely lovely, lovely guy who everybody likes, which is super important, and certainly not the case with a few head coaches we've had over the past couple of decades.
Also, he's got the experience, not just as an athlete.
Yeah,
he was the coach of the relay team that won the World Championships in 2017. He went off to be head coach in Australia, came back very soon because he was offered the job in Great Britain. So it's not just some random who's been put in that place. He does know what he's talking about. He's got years of experience as an athlete. He was World Junior champion, wasn't he, in like 97? So years of experience as an athlete and coach. So fingers crossed.
All right, I'm going to give you the names of 5 athletes. You're allowed 3 words to describe them, okay? And so I've been doing this since February, and Michael loves it. And it's random. I'm just inspired or uninspired. And we're going to start really easy. Mondo Duplantis.
Okay, so we've got to say 3 words to describe them.
Yeah. And each one of you is allowed 3 words. 3 to 5 words. I'll be nice, okay?
Young.
Thank you. God, that was really, really good.
He's really marketable.
Insanely talented.
Yeah. He's like a joy to watch. Joy to watch. There we are. That's 3 words. Joy to watch. I'm going to go off the 3 word script just quickly. He is so exciting, and he makes this is exactly what I love about the sport. Someone comes along from an event you weren't expecting it to come from, and suddenly that event becomes the most exciting event in the sport, And
okay.
What's great with him is he's got all this backup. So it's not just him, is it? There's like 4, 5, 6, 7 other people who are all jumping crazy heights, and he's one of the people who makes the sport super, super exciting at the moment.
And just take a look, and with no structural help, how the pole vault boys have created this whole brand, this whole event, and the enthusiasm from them with each other to create the whole garden thing, to do that amazing one in the station. And from an event that we always say, you could market that as like an extreme sport. But so there's so much potential there. Way more than 3 words, sorry.
That's all right. Our next one is Dina Asher-Smith.
Perfection. Like absolute perfection.
Yeah.
You can't explain what a relief she is to us. Mm-hmm. We haven't had proper world-class female sprinters for nearly 40 years. Yeah. And suddenly, not only is she top of the pile, but we've suddenly got loads of others running in the 10s and the teens, which we just haven't had. We haven't had since Kathy Cook, which is like 35 years ago. Yeah. She is just the absolute pride of Britain. There's my 3 words, pride of Britain.
At the medal conference in Doha, there were a couple media people, Americans, who were messing with her. And she used the term cheeky, and she did it perfectly and shut them down. And I looked at that and I said, this woman can handle anything, you know?
She is super smart, like super smart, eloquent, beautiful, like everything about her, the whole package. Her parents, like Julie, who's her mum, who's like everyone loves Julie. She's like a fan favorite as well. But like they've just brought up this amazing girl who's still super young and like, yeah, she is perfection.
Okay. Holly Bradshaw.
Oh.
So Holly's lovely. Like she's been on the pod recently as well.
We're obviously not doing that 3-word thing. That's not going to happen. So
that's fine. That's thrown out the window.
I still think Holly is untapped potential.
That was exactly what I was going to say.
Oh yeah.
Like she did 487, 88 back in 2012. We interviewed her. She says, "I've no clue how I did that. No idea how it happened."
Yeah.
And then she did it almost again this summer, this winter, and she did know how to do it now. But then she comes to the championships at the Euro, which she should have won easily, and it was the worst jump of the whole winter for her. So there's still something that hasn't clicked with her, but we're very confident it's going to.
Yeah, and what's great is it's because she jumped that super big jump when she was like 19. She did 87, you said 487, but didn't actually did it, and it's taken her 10 years to actually work out how she got them in the first place. It's just going to take a couple more, maybe hopefully 3 months for her to get it together when it really matters. I feel like in some ways her being so good so early, it feels like it kind of threw her a bit, and it's taken her a while to get back to it because but you know, she's becoming what she is now. Is she's really, really consistent, and we all know that consistency is the thing that's going to get you the medals in the long run, because you can be a flash in the pan, but if you can be consistently good, it will come, and I have every confidence that it will come.
Laura Muir.
For me, Laura Muir is in this tradition of really hard British.
I was going to say
Liz McColgan, Kelly Holmes, Paula Radcliffe. You know, that kind of uncompromising, just throw everything out there. Yvonne Murray, and she is so tough. We talk about this a lot, actually. And why she reminds me of Yvonne Murray as well is I don't know what her tactic is at major championships, and she hasn't worked out what it is either yet. And we were saying the other day, she's so uncompromised. She always goes for gold, which is obviously what a champion has to do. But if she ran like Jenny Simpson, she would have a bucket full of medals right now, because Jenny runs for a medal, and it's the smart thing to do.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, Jenny. I mean, I watched that move when Jenny took Laura out. Laura was in front of her, and and it was just and it was all about the experience. Laura had the enthusiasm, but Jenny had the experience. And the thing is that in a world championship and a Olympic event, that experience is so critical. Laura's getting there, in terms of experience. I think her and Holly are going to be the two big surprises when they win gold between now and Paris. And I get called on NBC TV and they say, well, why did you pick them? And I said, well, wasn't it obvious? I mean, there's just athletes like that, right? And it's just, it's really interesting. I think you guys have such a great group. Okay, so we're going to be down to our.
So can I just very quickly say the one thing, and this is a fan thing across the board, where we love Laura Muir, but we also love athletes like her. She leaves everything on the track. You never finish watching Laura Muir and thinking, oh, she didn't, she was in the wrong position, or she did it. She will leave everything on the track. If that means she wins or she comes fourth, it doesn't matter. Every last bit of what she had was dispensed, and that's that. From an athletics fan perspective, that's what we love more than anything else.
And then you guys have a new young star coming up, Keely Hodgkinson.
Oh.
And I wanted to ask you what you guys thought of her. Have you got to talk to her yet?
No, I don't think we have.
We haven't, no.
She's only just turned 19.
Yeah, that's what I thought, right?
She turned 19, it's like the week before when she won the Euro indoors.
Yeah.
The thing is with Keely, because she was the European youth champion, then she was European junior bronze medalist, and she would have done the World Juniors last year if it had been on. But we've got a great group of young I mean, the European Junior 800 meters, I think we've won for the last 3 times and got additional medals as well. So yes, we always knew she was great, but no greater than some of the others who we've seen come up, Isabel Boffey or Hayley Malanga or what's she called? Who trains with Laura?
Gemma.
Gemma Reed, who has on? She was on a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, she was on the other week as well. So to come out this winter, and we knew that Keely was great, and we knew she was tactically good, but to come out and run that fast. But can we just talk about who's your big new star in the 800 meters?
Oh my gosh.
Athang Mu. I don't know how to say her name.
Athang, yes. She's absolutely amazing. I mean, I saw her at 19 run a 600, and I was blown away. I was at the U.S. Indoor meet. I'd just come back from the World Indoor Tour, and I'm sitting in New York watching her, and I'm just going, oh, dear God. And then she goes and runs at 158, and it's just like, and I'd watched her run that 1500 big PB and the mile big PB, and I'm going, okay, they're really preparing her for just a screaming 800. Oh no, she's a 154. She's got 154, 155, and it's going to be very interesting to see. The difference is, though, we have a lot of Americans who can run fast times.
Yeah.
How are you going to do in the world of global competition?
We talk about this all the time.
All the time. It's a running joke. It's a running joke on the podcast.
Every year, the NCAAs, you have people who run amazing times, and we just shrug. We're not interested because we're like, send them to Europe. Let's see what they do on the Diamond League. Let's see what they do at a championship, because it's a totally different thing. And we always say, who's Dawn Sowell? If you could tell, that's our reference about if you're going to run really fast, then we've never heard of you ever again. The other thing is with these young kids, and especially American female middle distance runners, you have these amazing Mary Kay and Jordan Hassay, and they never really make it to the seniors because there's so much pressure on them, especially through the collegiate circuit. So I think we should wrap these kids in cotton wool, not put too many expectations on them, and hope they're amazing when they're seniors.
But the thing about Keely Hodgkinson was, it wasn't just that she ran so well, so fast, so young. It's she turned up at the European Indoors and ran that like a seasoned professional. She ran it. She didn't seem remotely kind of swayed by the fact that this was her first major senior championship. She came in and ran like a champion, as if the others were going to have to. It was like, come and get me if you can, and they couldn't.
Against the Olympic pacer and a former European champion. I mean, it's not like it was
exactly. Her coach is Jenny Meadows, and her husband Trevor Painter. And that is just great company to be in. Jenny Meadows has proved herself to be such a great, not just coach. She was a great athlete, a great coach. She's now a great commentator on the TV.
I love her on that. She does a great
good
with Cliff's son, and I got to meet them in 19, and just went up and said, "Hey, you guys you're awesome." And they're like going, "Oh my God, an American actually knows who we are." And but
what's also great about Jenny was Jenny is one of those athletes who was so tactically aware and squeezed every little last bit out of her. She got medals when she was not in. She was up there, but like she squeezed medals, and she got cheated out of a lot as well. That hopefully she's got most of them back now. But that's a girl who really squeezed every last ounce of achievement out of her talent.
You were talking about Americans who do these great signs, and then what happens? I think Donovan Brazier, for Donovan to graduate from NCAA champion to the world champion, and was such a huge thing watching that race in Doha, but also watching the confidence that he exudes now. And it's that, when they have had, like, you watch Chris O'Hare, and Chris is always going to be dangerous. And I watched him in the Commonwealth. I was there in 14 at the Europeans, and I watch him, and I never discount him. My God, you'd be out of your mind, because they've tasted that success. They know what it takes, and how do you put it all back together? That's been the thing watching Wade Vanderkerk. Did we think that Wade was going to come back? And he just, he has he's an interesting, I really do want to interview. I mean, I've chatted with him a few times, and he's got a nice sense of humor. I want to be the fly on the wall and watch him with Lance Brauman down in Florida, because I think it'll be a different world for him. And yeah, I think he can get the world record again. You know, I mean, I didn't know if he could, but with that 20.10, I just look at it and I go, wow, you know?
The thing with him was his sort of rise came just as Usain was retiring. And I felt you could feel the IAAF or sort of World Athletics in general trying to transfer all that kind of hope from Usain Bolt over to him. And it just didn't seem like he was that kind of athlete. He's not sort of brash. He's not like sort of confident. He's not a showman. And I remember thinking at the time, and we had quite a few conversations about this, why are you going for the most obvious? You know, you've picked the 400 meter runner coming off from a Jamaican sprinter. Maybe the next big star of the sport is a javelin thrower. You know, but they didn't have that kind of imagination, did they?
No.
And then the injury happened to him, thankfully, like, you know, after the Olympics. But like he is one of those people who may have lucked out with lockdown. So lockdown could have been very, very good for him, couldn't it? Because I think we would all absolutely love him to come back and be back at the top of the world. Because it's a real shame when that kind of thing happens. You know, when someone is about to become one of the all-time greats and then is knocked out with an injury, you can't help but wish them to come back, and it seems to be heading like in the right direction.
You know, there's two British commentators that I have to say are a guilty pleasure. I love watching Backley and Tony Minicello.
Oh, they're not guilty pleasure. They're great. They're just a pleasure. And Tony commentates like when you're sitting next to him in a track. Yes, yeah, exactly.
I mean, if I had him on one side and Harry Mara on the other side, I'd go, okay, guys, all right, tell me what. And I actually got to watch this one time, and I'm watching them, and I'm going, wow, I never saw that, Tony. That's so cool. And then Backley
but that's what Tony's so good at, is the technical stuff, because obviously as a multi-event coach, he knows a lot about everything and the minutiae of the technique. And sometimes we want to hear that. Just those little things that we don't know to concentrate on, and he can explain with one sentence. And so, yeah, they've been a really great addition.
But also, what's so important is they sound like they're enjoying themselves.
Yes.
You know? They sound like they're enjoying. They sound like us sat on our city, obviously way more knowledgeable, but they're sort of gossiping and laughing and, like, you know, having fun. And it's so important. If as a commentator, you can sound like you're having fun. That makes the viewer have fun. And, you know, we have lots of really good commentators here. You know, we have the problem with the BBC is they've got too many people, so they try and like juggle, give something for everybody. And I think they could sort of really cut down on the amount. But overall, the quality is got so much better in recent years. You know, we can't really. We have had so many bad things to say about the BBC in the past, but like in the last 2-3 championships, they've been great. And Doha was particularly brilliant, wasn't it? Doha was so well done.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. You guys have survived 46 minutes with me, so you're setting a record. And I just want to tell you both how much I've missed you, how much I enjoy your commentating. I'm going to follow up with a note afterwards, just about asking me to. I want you to send me 5 of your favorite podcasts so we can let our readers see them, if that's cool with you two. Okay?
Absolutely. The problem is all my favorite podcasts are true crime ones. They're nothing to do with athletics.
Wow. True crime. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you know what? My son and I watch all the stuff on the Russian front. And we get all these things on Netflix and Prime. And when we're having a business issue, he equates something from the Russian front to what we're dealing with, or to the poor kid read Dostoevsky when he was 12, or to you know, like Brothers Karamazov, and people just look at us and just go, "Boy, you must have really run a screwed up household," you know. And but we understand it, you know, right?
But if I'm going to be honest, it's what we were saying before. Most athletics podcasts are quite dry.
Yeah,
they just are. They're just really dry. Which I think is why we kind of stand out. Because yes, it's about athletics, but it's also about us having a laugh and not taking it too seriously. And we've tried, and having a drink, which is super important. We've tried so many different podcasts come around, and we listen to them, and I just think, like, do you love the sport? Do you really love it? You know, do you love the sport, or do you just love like stats, or do you just love like training manuals? You know, do you actually love the sport? and it just doesn't come across at all. But
yeah, I try to ask that. I asked that question during my interviews. Now, do you guys pull Graham Norton, and do you have an adult beverage during the broadcast, or do you wait till afterwards?
So no, you've seen us at enough championships to know this is another thing. If I was in charge of World Athletics, I would make drinking compulsory.
Oh yeah,
you have seen us at enough championships that we were once known as. Linford Christie named me and Jody the Munich Party Boys, which is when he first met us at the European Championships in Munich in 2002.
Wow!
Because we constantly had a beer in our hand. Now, if you're going to go to a sporting event, you need to enjoy yourself.
Yes.
And how better to enjoy yourself than going to Germany and drinking beer? You know, I think. I'm not suggesting we want a load of drunkards at athletics meetings, but there's a meeting in Britain called the Night of the 10,000 PBs.
PBs, I love that.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Basically, they have probably 10 different 10K races on over the course of all afternoon and into the evening. The track
and usually culminating in the trials for the major championships.
The major championships, yeah. At the track, the track goes through. They build a tent. They build a beer tent over the track, and basically have to run through us all drinking. It's such a brilliant event, and it combines two of my loves, athletics and drinking, but it also just gives you that party atmosphere, And
it does.
So you kind of get with the idea. I kind of stop saying World Athletics. They're so set in their ways, they're so staid, they kind of frown upon this kind of thing. And any way that you're going to get people into a stadium, enjoying themselves, cheering along, if that means getting beer sponsorship, then go ahead.
Yes.
Can we talk about, I just want to say about World Athletics social media, the guys who do their social media are doing an amazing job.
They are really good job.
As are whoever's putting together their YouTube, because it's constant content, and it's all the old meetings that we've been talking about for years that we have to scrabble around and find. Well, I've got them all on VHS, obviously, but we had
yes.
and I've been meaning to convert them for years and put them online, but I don't need to anymore because the IWF are actually doing a very good job of that right now.
Really, really good job. That is true. We've got to applaud them for that. It's very.
We will congratulate them, and guys, you've survived now 61 minutes, so you've done great, and so you'll be able to enjoy your dinner tonight. And Bayo and Jody, thank you so much. It's just great seeing you two. I've missed you. And it's one thing to hear your shiny voices and stuff like that. It's another thing to see you both.
Oh, shiny faces.
Yes, in rare form, And hopefully the next time you see me, this will be a little trimmed down. So.
But when will we see you next?
I'm hoping we're trying to do Gateshead, Doha, Hengelo, and Rome. I've got the vaccination passport. I just don't know if they're going to let us go, So I'm reaching out to Euro Athletics and World and seeing, hey, guys, can you help us with this? And I've sent a note to Jason and then also to Spencer Barden and seeing, hey, what can you do? Because they tend to like us at meets. We get some good numbers and stuff like that. I'm credentialed for my 10th Summer Olympics, which is Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
But I'm questioning whether I'm still questioning how I'm waiting for them to say anybody but licensed broadcaster media, you're not allowed to go.
Yeah, I expect that'll be the case. Yeah.
I'll be on the European portal, which was brilliant I stayed up all night from Toll Room for 5 nights and just, watched everything and it was wonderful. But European Broadcasting has made a deal with the media where we can see their portal and we can do the interviews and stuff. So I'm going to find a way to.
We tried that for the European indoors. Yeah. I didn't try very hard, but it seemed slightly unworkable. But
I had to get on the phone with them for about a half an hour, and then we figured it out. My biggest challenge was the mixed zones was a little bit of a. I thought I needed to take a calculus class again or something.
Exactly.
Because I wasn't, kind of getting all there. But I thought that the coverage, look, I love Phil, and he's a goofball, Minishul. Yeah, but in the humor is dry, but it's like watching Monty Python do a track meet, and it's just it's a really, for me, it's very enjoyable, because it's like seeing my friends do things, right? You know what I mean? It's like if they put put you two in front of it. See, what I would love to see is to put you two in front of, actually, so here's my dream. I want the three of us to take over a TV broadcasting room, and we're gonna broadcast the meet. We're going to bring in the Unabomber, and they're gonna say, okay, these guys are in here for 2 hours, and we're gonna just show them how to do it and have some fun.
And if only we knew a TV sports producer who also happens to be our podcast partner.
Wow.
Claire will be on board with that.
Well, will you tell the lovely Claire that I would really like to interview the three of you sometime, and I know she's very busy, and perhaps we'll have to do it over beverages in person.
Absolutely.
Which would be totally cool.
Just one quick thought. It may very well be that the next time we see you, we'll be over on your side of the pond.
Oh, lovely. Where are you thinking? Are you thinking going to Pre, or are you going to go to the...
I think of the Worlds next year.
Oh, yeah. The Worlds, please come over. Also, just to tell you, look for Airbnbs now, okay?
Oh, yeah.
and think about Springfield, okay? That's next to Eugene. It's a lovely little town. It's probably where we're going to be, because we may be up there for about 15 months. I'm looking to find a place just to go up, get a feel for everything. It's the one city that I've wanted to live in the U.S. that I haven't. You guys may not believe this, but I actually went to school for a while and I studied painting. And at the time, there was a lovely figurative painter in Eugene. I was either going to go to there or Boulder or Stanford at the time. This is in the 70s, And but there were figurative painters, and when you went for your master's, you worked almost like an internship under someone to learn a lot about what they were doing. Painting is still pretty old school, and I try to see stuff through a painter's eyes. But it's just it keeps it fun. We're just having a great time. And guys, thank you so much. I'm going to end this thing. So this is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. I've had the BackStraight boys, and we have just had such a great time with Jody and Bayo. They have, so I've known you since 2009.
I think so, yeah.
I think so. And their podcast, the BackStraight boys and girl, we're going to feature 5 of them on RunBlogRun once the guys get back to us, and we'll do one a week.
Oh, you meant the favorite of our podcast.
Your favorite of your podcast. I want the favorite of yours. I want 5 episodes. I want you to give us 5 episodes.
Okay, that's easy. Yeah, that's fine. That's much easier. Yeah, completely that.
But the crime one, I will check out. Because my girlfriend Kathy, she loves like forensic files, and she says that the reason why she likes forensic files is she knows that she wouldn't be able to get away with murder because all these people are so smart. Do all the crazy stuff,
Right, we understand now. We'll send you our 5 favorite episodes ever. That can be done. No
all right,
problem.
so we've been with Bayo and Jody Furlong, and they are the BackStraight boys, and we're missing the girl, but it's a wonderful podcast in the UK. And this is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun on Socialing the Distance. Guys, thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. And this was really a blast. Okay,
and we'll see you soon with some beers.
Oh, it sounds great. Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun, your favorite podcast. And today we're going to take you across the pond. And you're going to meet Jody and Bayo Furlong, brothers called the BackStraight Boys. It's now the BackStraight Boys and a girl because Claire, one of their partners in crime over in the UK, so they've got are doing the broadcast. Here's the idea. Huge sports fans doing athletics broadcasting for sports fans. We just spent 61 minutes chatting about every subject in the world. I gave them control of World Athletics for a day. I gave them control of NBC for the day. I asked what's good about BBC TV, which they praised. They said it's gotten much better. I asked about some of the challenges with our sport, and they were very frank. But what comes across mostly is that Bayo and Jody both love the sport, and they've done it since they were kids. It's pretty cool that Linford Christie back in 2002 kind of patted them on the back for enjoying an adult beverage at a track meet. So I think those things are good too. But what we've asked them to do is to give us their 5 favorite podcasts, and we're going to feature them on Run Blog Run coming up. So I think you'll enjoy that too. But to me, what was exciting was they enjoy what they do, they have fun with what they do, and they said in talking to the athletes, that's one of the things that comes across. And I hope that's what you see when you watch Socially the Distance and Athletics Chat. We have fun doing what we do. You know, I mean, Steve Martin, the American comedian, said, some people get paid for selling Flair pens, and I get paid for doing this. And I feel very lucky to make a living at something that I love doing for 42 plus years. So thank you for watching our broadcast. I think you'll really enjoy the BackStraight boys and girl. And Claire was, they're all involved in the, I would say, the TV business in some way or another. And when we get to a meet, we will do an interview with all 3. And I think it should be a lot of fun, and could even be more fun than this last one, which was a blast. But this is Larry Eder with Run Blog Run. Socialing the Distance is the name of our program. Today we featured Jody and Bayo Furlong, the BackStraight brothers and girl, a wonderful podcast from across the pond, all on athletics. You can find it on Apple iTunes and wherever podcasts are found, but we're going to feature 5 on Run Blog Run for you to savor and enjoy. If you like Run Blog Run, subscribe on our YouTube channel. That's where you can truly love us. If you like us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay safe, get vaccinated, exercise, hydrate, and enjoy an adult beverage once in a while. And by gosh, watch track on television. Talk to you soon.